Sometimes in life, the greatest losses become the very battles that awaken our true strength. I thought losing my husband was the most painful tragedy I would ever face, but little did I know, that heartbreak was only the beginning of a war for my identity, my dignity, and the empire I had built with my bare hands. This is the story of how betrayal tried to break me, how greed tried to strip me of everything I had earned, and how, in the end, resilience turned my deepest wound into my most powerful victory. When my husband left me for another woman, it felt like my entire world collapsed. We had been together since our 20s. We built a life, dreams, and a business side by side, or at least that's what I believed. My heart was shattered, but I told myself I'd survive. Divorce is painful, but women survive it every day. But I never expected what came next. Just months after the papers were signed, his new wife, yes, the woman he left me for, filed a legal claim against me. She demanded half of my company. My company! The empire I had sacrificed my youth, my health, and my tears for. A company now worth over $500 million. I couldn't believe it. The betrayal cut so deep, it was almost surreal. Losing him was one thing, but the thought of losing everything I had created, that was unbearable. At first, I thought it was a bad joke. Surely the courts would see the truth. But then reality hit me. They had hired a team of ruthless lawyers. They had money, influence, and a narrative ready to destroy me. According to them, my husband had been the brains behind the company, and I was just a figurehead. Imagine working 20-hour days, skipping meals, missing birthdays, pouring your soul into something, only for someone to say it was never yours to begin with. Every day, I faced whispers from so-called friends. Maybe they're right. Maybe you won't win. Maybe it's time to let go. But I couldn't. This company wasn't just money. It was my sweat, my blood, my proof that I could stand on my own 2 feet. That's when I realized this wasn't just a lawsuit. This was war. I made a decision that night. If they wanted a war, I would give them one. But let me be clear, it wasn't easy. My days were consumed with meetings, strategy sessions, and endless paperwork. My nights? Sleepless. I would lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how much more I could take. Fear whispered in my ear constantly. What if you lose? What if they take it all? But every time I thought about giving up, I remembered the early days. I remembered the nights I worked alone in a tiny office, dreaming of success. I remembered the sacrifices my younger self had made. I couldn't let her down. So I fought. I dug through every file, every email, every receipt from the early years. I remembered signing the very first contract with trembling hands. I remembered emptying my savings account to pay our first employee. And there it was, the proof. The documents that showed it was me, not him, who had laid the foundation. When I handed those papers to my lawyer, I felt something shift. It was like my past self was reaching forward, giving me strength. The courtroom became my battlefield. And sitting across from me, day after day, were my ex-husband and his new wife, smirking as if they had already won. They underestimated me. They saw only a broken woman, not realizing that broken pieces can cut sharper than anything whole. The case dragged on for months. They tried everything: media attacks, false witnesses, even attempts to turn my employees against me. The pressure was suffocating. And then came the pivotal day. The judge asked for final submissions. My lawyer stood, his voice steady, and laid out the evidence. The contracts, the receipts, the bank transfers. Piece by piece, my story was rebuilt in that courtroom. I glanced at my ex-husband. His confidence wavered. His wife's smirk faded. And then, the words I'll never forget. The court recognizes this company as solely belonging to the plaintiff. All claims made by the defendants are dismissed. In that moment, my knees almost gave out. Tears welled in my eyes. Not tears of weakness, but of victory. The courtroom felt different. The air shifted. Suddenly, I wasn't just the woman he left behind. I was the woman who stood tall, who fought for her truth, who proved that resilience can crush even the deepest betrayal. I had lost my husband, but I had won my $500 million war. And more importantly, I had won myself back. Looking back now, I realized something profound. The real wealth wasn't the company, the money, or the victory in court. The real wealth was the strength I discovered within myself, strengths I didn't know I had until everything was stripped away. We often think heartbreak is the end, but sometimes heartbreak is the doorway to our greatest transformation. I learned that being alone doesn't mean being weak, that even when love betrays you, your own courage can never abandon you, and that no matter who tries to take away your worth, no one can succeed unless you let them. This was my journey, from loss to triumph, from brokenness to resilience. And now, I want to hear from you. Has there been a time in your life when everything seemed to fall apart, only for it to become your greatest victory? Share your story in the comments. You never know who your words might inspire. Please like this video, leave a sweet comment, and don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon so you never miss another storytime of resilience and hope. Because remember, sometimes losing everything is what finally shows you who you really are.